My beloved child, be still for a moment and listen, because I am speaking to you now, and what I am about to say is not a wish, it is not a maybe, it is a word I am placing over your life tonight. Before this month ends, your finances will shift. Not because you have finally earned it, not because you have finally done enough, but because I already assigned this breakthrough to you before you ever asked for it. Sit with me for a while. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind grow quiet. I did not come to lecture you tonight. I came to remind you of what was already yours. You have been carrying a weight, haven't you? Counting what is left in the account before the count is even finished. Watching numbers instead of watching me. Feeling the tightness in your chest every time a bill arrives, every time a plan falls through, every time it feels like the harder you work, the further behind you fall. I see it, child. I have seen every quiet night you lay awake doing math in your head. And I want you to hear me clearly tonight, none of that struggle was a sign that I forgot you. It was never a sign of lack. It was always the ground being prepared for a shift too large to arrive quietly. It was never about how much you had. It was always about what I was building in you while you had so little. Not because you failed, but because I was forming patience in you that money could never buy. Not because you were unworthy, but because I was preparing a table you have not yet seen, in a season you have not yet reached. Every delay you have lived through was never punishment. It was positioning. And I am telling you now, beloved, the positioning season is closing. Before this month ends, your finances will shift. Let this settle into you the way warm water settles into a cold room. I am not asking you to strive for this. I am not asking you to prove that you deserve it. You do not have to work yourself into exhaustion to unlock what I already unlocked the moment I called you mine. This is not a reward you earn through performance. This is an inheritance you were always going to walk into. The striving was never what moved my hand. My love was always what moved my hand, and my love does not fluctuate based on your output. I want you to hear that again, because I know how easily you forget it. This shift is not coming because you finally hustled hard enough. It is not coming because you finally said the right prayer in the right way. It is coming because I said so, long before you knew to ask. You do not have to perform for provision. You do not have to bleed for blessing. You only have to receive what I am already releasing. Think back, for a moment, on every closed door you have stood in front of this year. The job that didn't come through. The deal that fell apart at the last moment. The opportunity that seemed so certain and then quietly disappeared. I know it felt like rejection. I know it felt like proof that you were somehow behind, somehow overlooked, somehow forgotten in the plans of everyone around you who seemed to be moving faster. But hear me, beloved, it was never rejection. It was always redirection. Every closed door was me standing in the doorway, keeping you from walking into something that was never meant to hold what I am about to give you. Not because that door was bad, but because it was too small for what is coming. Not because you weren't ready, but because the timing had not yet caught up to the size of the blessing. I do not close a door to abandon you in the hallway. I close a door because I already see the room down the hall that has your name written over it, and I refuse to let you settle for less while something greater is still walking toward you. Before this month ends, your finances will shift, because the door I have been keeping you from was never a punishment. It was protection. You have wondered, in your quiet moments, why it has taken this long. Why others seem to receive so easily what you have had to fight for. Why the wait has stretched longer than you expected, longer than you think you can bear some days. I want to answer that gently, without shame, without blame. It was never because I loved them more. It was never because I favored someone else's timeline over yours. It was always because your season required a different kind of building, a foundation strong enough to hold what is coming without cracking under the weight of it. A house built quickly can collapse quickly. But I have never been in a hurry with what I love. I have been laying stone after quiet stone beneath your feet, and though you could not always see the structure forming, I promise you, beloved, it was forming. Every hard month was a stone. Every sacrifice was a stone. Every time you gave when you had little, every time you stayed faithful when it made no earthly sense to stay faithful, that was a stone too. And now, child, the foundation is finished. The house is ready to be filled. I want you to release the shame you have carried around money. I know how heavy that shame has been, how it has crept into rooms it never belonged in, whispering that your worth is somehow tied to your bank balance, that your value rises and falls with the numbers on a screen. Hear me clearly, that voice was never mine. Your worth was never up for negotiation. Not because of what you have, but because of who you belong to. Not because of what you have accumulated, but because of the love I placed on you before you accumulated anything at all. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not the exception to a promise that has worked for everyone else. You are mine, and what is mine does not stay in lack forever. Before this month ends, your finances will shift, not as a reward for the shame you have carried, but as a release from it. I am not going to bless you and then remind you of every mistake that got you here. I am going to bless you and let the blessing itself be the reminder that the mistakes never disqualified you in the first place. Let me speak now to the specific fear that visits you at night, the fear that whispers this time might be different, that this time the shift might not come, that maybe you have been hoping for something that was never actually promised. Beloved, I understand why that fear visits. Disappointment leaves fingerprints, and yours has been touched more than once. But hear me, every unmet expectation in your past was never proof that I do not keep my word. It was always proof that my timing and your timeline are not the same clock. You were not wrong to hope before. You were only early. And being early is not the same as being wrong. The seed you planted in faith during your hardest season did not die simply because the harvest did not appear on your schedule. It was growing in soil you could not see, deep beneath the surface where roots form before anything visible breaks through. What looked like nothing happening was actually everything happening, quietly, underground, out of your sight but never out of mine. I did not forget the prayers you prayed when things were tightest. I did not forget the tears you cried counting coins, stretching a little into enough, making a way when there seemed to be no way at all. Every one of those moments was recorded. Every one of those moments mattered. And now, in this final stretch of the month, I am bringing the fruit of those hidden seasons into the light. Before this month ends, your finances will shift, not suddenly out of nowhere, but as the visible result of everything I have been growing in the dark on your behalf. I want you to stop bracing for disappointment and start preparing room for increase. Not because bracing is foolish, but because it keeps your hands clenched shut exactly when I am trying to place something new into them. You cannot receive with a closed fist. So loosen your grip tonight, beloved. Loosen the grip on fear, on doubt, on the old story that says good things are for other people and hard things are simply your portion. That was never your portion. It was never who you were assigned to be. You were assigned favor. You were assigned provision. You were assigned a shift too significant to explain away as coincidence. Consider, for a moment, everyone who doubted this season would ever turn, including the version of yourself that doubted it most. I am not angry at that doubt. I understand it came from real weariness, not rebellion. But doubt does not cancel a promise, beloved, it only delays your peace while waiting for it. The promise stands whether you feel steady enough to believe it every single day or not. My faithfulness was never dependent on your consistency. It was always dependent on my character, and my character does not change with the seasons the way circumstances do. So even on the days you find it hard to believe this, even on the days the numbers still look tight and the timeline still feels uncertain, I am asking you simply to remain near me, not to perform certainty you do not yet feel. You do not need perfect faith for this shift to arrive. You only need to stay close enough to receive it when it does. Not because certainty earns the blessing, but because nearness positions you to notice it the moment it appears. I also want to speak to the comparison that has quietly wounded you, the comparison that measures your progress against someone else's highlight reel, someone else's raise, someone else's ease. Release that comparison tonight, beloved. Their season was never a measurement of your worth, and their timeline was never a delay of your own. What I am building in your finances was designed specifically for your life, your calling, your family, your future, not a copy of someone else's story stitched onto yours. You were never behind them. You were simply on a different road, heading toward a different, equally significant, arrival. I want you to imagine, for a moment, what it will feel like when this shift becomes visible. Not a small, forgettable improvement, but a shift undeniable enough that you know, without question, it did not come from your effort alone. I want you to picture the relief settling into your chest where tightness used to live. I want you to picture the quiet exhale after months, maybe years, of holding your breath around every bill, every expense, every unexpected cost that used to feel like it might undo everything you had carefully held together. That relief is coming, beloved. Not because you finally worked hard enough to summon it, but because I already ordained it, long before this hard season taught you how to hold on. The struggle was never proof I withheld love from you. It was always proof I was preparing you to steward something greater than what you were carrying before. A small container cannot hold a large gift without breaking. So I strengthened the container first. I strengthened you first. And now, the gift is ready to be placed into hands strong enough to hold it without fear of losing it again. Let me speak to the version of you that has grown quietly tired of hoping. I know there is a part of you that has learned to protect itself by expecting less, by keeping hope small so disappointment cannot reach as far when it comes. I understand why you built that wall, beloved. It kept you standing through seasons that might have otherwise broken you. But that wall was never meant to become your permanent home. It was meant to shelter you for a night, not to seal you off from the very blessing it was built to survive until. So tonight, gently, I am asking you to lower it, just enough to let hope back in. Not the reckless hope of someone who has never been hurt, but the steady hope of someone who has been hurt and chosen to trust again anyway. That kind of hope is not weakness, beloved. It is the strongest kind there is, because it has already survived disappointment and decided to believe regardless. It was never foolish to hope before. It was never foolish to hope through the waiting. And it is not foolish to hope now, in these final days, when everything in the natural still looks the same but everything in the spirit is already shifting beneath the surface. Hear this too, child, this shift is not only about money, though money is where you feel the ache most sharply right now. This shift is about trust being restored between us, about you learning, in a way you cannot unlearn, that I am not a distant God who watches your struggle from far away. I am near. I have always been near. I was near in the tightest month, and I am near in this final stretch before the turning. What is coming is not simply provision, it is proof that I see you, that I have never once looked away, that every hard chapter was written by a father who already knew the ending and was simply walking you gently toward it. I know it has been tempting to measure my love by the state of your bank account, to wonder, in your quietest moments, whether the delay meant something about how I feel toward you. Beloved, hear me plainly, my love for you was never sitting in a bank account waiting to be proven. My love for you was settled before you were formed, before you knew struggle, before you knew lack, before you ever needed anything from me at all. The money was never the proof of my love. You were always the proof of my love, simply by existing, simply by being mine. The provision that is coming is not me finally deciding to love you. It is me finally releasing, in the natural, what has always been true of you in the spirit. Think, too, of every small faithfulness you have shown along the way that felt unnoticed, unrewarded, invisible to everyone but you. The bill you paid even when it stretched you thin. The tithe you gave even when giving felt like sacrifice rather than surplus. The kindness you extended to someone else even while you yourself were struggling. None of that went unseen, beloved. None of it was wasted. I do not measure faithfulness by the size of the resource, I measure it by the size of the heart behind it, and yours has never once been small. Every quiet act of integrity in your tightest season is being remembered now, not as a debt I owe you, but as evidence of exactly who I already knew you to be. So let this final stretch of the month be different from every stretch before it, not because you are trying harder to believe, but because you are finally resting in what was already true. Let go of the need to control exactly how this arrives. Let go of the need to know exactly which door it walks through. Sometimes the shift comes through an opportunity you did not expect. Sometimes it comes through a door quietly reopening that you thought had closed for good. Sometimes it comes so simply, so practically, that you almost miss how significant it is, because you were expecting fireworks instead of a steady, quiet turning. However it comes, beloved, trust that it is me, and trust that it was always mine to give. I want to speak now to the anger you may have quietly carried, the anger you have not always known how to name, the frustration of watching your efforts seem to disappear into a system that felt indifferent to how hard you were trying. It is all right to have felt that. It is all right to have wondered, in a raw and honest moment, why the ground felt so much harder for you than it seemed to feel for others. Beloved, I did not punish that anger, and I am not asking you to feel ashamed of it now. I am simply asking you to set it down, the way you would set down a heavy bag after a long walk, because the walk is nearly over, and you will not need to carry it into what is coming. I am not a God who requires you to earn your way out of frustration before I bless you. I am not waiting for you to arrive at perfect peace, perfect gratitude, perfect composure before I release what I already assigned to you. I move toward you in the middle of your struggle, not only after it ends. So even if you read these words tonight still frustrated, still uncertain, still carrying some tiredness in your spirit, hear me, the shift is not waiting for your mood to improve. It is not waiting for you to feel deserving. It is simply waiting for its appointed time, and that time is close. Consider, too, the people around you who may not understand what you have been walking through, the ones who offer advice without knowing the weight you carry, the ones who compare your patience to their impatience and call it a lack of effort. Release the need for them to understand, beloved. Their understanding was never a requirement for my provision. I do not need an audience to agree with my timing before I move on your behalf. I only need you, quietly trusting, quietly waiting, quietly believing that what I said is still true even when no one else can see the evidence yet. There is a stillness available to you tonight that does not depend on your circumstances lining up first. That stillness is mine to give, and I am giving it to you now, in this very moment, regardless of what your bank balance says, regardless of what bill is due tomorrow, regardless of how long this season has stretched. Let that stillness settle over the parts of you that have been clenched tight for so long they have almost forgotten how to relax. You do not have to hold everything together by sheer force anymore. I am holding it. I have been holding it the whole time, even when it did not feel that way. So beloved, before this month ends, let your finances shift, not because you clawed your way toward it, but because I already set it in motion. Let the tightness in your chest begin to loosen tonight. Let the fear that has followed you through every bill, every uncertain week, every sleepless calculation, begin to quiet itself in my presence. You do not have to force this. You do not have to strive for it. You only have to receive it, the way a child receives a gift from a parent who has been waiting all along for the right moment to place it into their hands. I am not finished with you. I was never finished with you, not on your hardest day, not on the day it felt like everything was falling apart, not even now, in this quiet moment where you are simply listening, simply resting, simply choosing to believe again after so long of trying to believe on your own. You are not alone in this. You were never alone in this. And what is coming was never in question to me, even on the days it felt entirely uncertain to you. Before this month ends, your finances will shift. Say it gently to yourself, not as a demand, not as a desperate grasp, but as a quiet, settled knowing, the way you might say the name of someone you trust completely. Let it rest in your spirit tonight. Let it be the last thought you carry into sleep and the first thought you wake with tomorrow. Not because repeating it earns it, but because believing it positions you to recognize it the moment it arrives. If these words met you tonight exactly where you needed them, take a moment before you go. Sit in stillness. Let this sink past your thoughts and settle into your heart. If you feel led, whisper a quiet prayer, not a performance, just an honest word between you and me, thanking me in advance for what you cannot yet see but already trust is coming. And if this word gave you even a small measure of peace tonight, consider sharing it with someone else who might be counting coins in the dark, wondering if their own turning is still coming. You never know whose faith is hanging on by the same thread yours was hanging on by tonight. Rest now, beloved. The shift is already on its way.